Dear friends, I'm just trying to record the the live stream instead of going to YouTube live. But this is same. I can stream later on also after recording. This is one part of the many other options are there. But today, what I wanted to discuss is the organization of teacher education curriculum as a part of the discussion of the Unit 4. And in this context, in this context, we need to understand two things very clearly. That one is organization. Organization do obviously have lots of its implication and meanings. Second part is teacher education, and third part is curriculum. So here we can say that we do have now three variables, and all of them are very independent from each other. Independent in the sense they have their own principles, theories, and meaning and all. Right now, the journey is like that. First of all, what is curriculum? Already you have come across during the bachelor degree program at the primary teachers training program what is curriculum, and right now how to organize that curriculum for teacher education. So see, just remember how I drew the lines. What is curriculum? It was a complete paper in undergraduate program in Indian context, but normally in the, say for example, that is called as B.Ed program. Normally in B.Ed program, uh, merely it is understood properly as it should be. Therefore, people used to just recollect as and with the meaning of curriculum, with some citations at the same time. One very popularly known as just like race course, derived from the etymological meaning of the curriculum, or runway, like that. But using the race course or the runway is just like some kind of metaphors to represent the entire philosophical meaning of a curriculum, or just its uh, broader interpretation in terms of its uh, applications in education system. So let us assume that somehow you have some fundamentals of the curriculum. Now, how to organize that curriculum, especially in that case during the undergraduate programs, you did study the principles of curriculum development. Curriculum development. So that was very general. Normally, those principles used at the time of curriculum development. Say, for example, whenever if we are asked to develop a curriculum, let it be for school education as an example. Let it be for school education as an example. So, what are the considerations or principles at least to be kept in mind to develop a curriculum for school education? Few of the popular I'm just citing as a uh, revision of the context, or so-called of the content you studied during undergraduate programs. Say, for example, psychological, we can say factors, dimensions, and all. So, if we keep this in mind while providing what are the things to be learned or to be given opportunity for learning, at least at the time of curriculum, these things are taken very seriously care of. And if we take a psychological, that means, for example, we need to understand the process of growth and development of a child. So once we understand the, or we keep in mind the growth and development and its nature and its behavioral outcome of a child, then on, only with this factor we will come to know about, for example, how learning will happen. How learning will happen. Say, for example, between the 0 to 2 years of child, I just quoted it from the Piaget's development, growth and development, that is cognitive development. Like that, in terms of moral development, we can refer Goldberg. In terms of psychosocial development, we can refer Erikson. In terms of psychoanalytical development, we can refer Freud, Sigmund Freud. Like that, lots of things are there as a to be kept in mind as a basis at the time of curriculum development. Then, say for example, social factor. This social factor may be subdivided into, socio-economical, socio-cultural, socio-religious, like that. So among the social factor, other subdivisions are there. How a child is during their growth and development, how a child is impacted by any other social factors also has to be kept in mind at the time of curriculum development. Why this exercise is doing? All these exercises are doing for normal growth and development as a social process. At the same time, I used to tell you that uh, schooling is nothing but a socialization process, making a child to grow properly. That means proper adjustment and adaptation, which is normally technically used to define as a overall development of a child, uh, you know, mentally, physically, and spiritually. In a very simpler form, we can say that a proper adjustment and a proper adaptability, which later on lead to the successful adjustment in the society and leading the society for a social change. So when we go to social factors, how social background, community background, cultural background, linguist background, many other contexts are there in this area. All are somehow able to impact the child's growth and development. Therefore, if we understand this, whenever we are planning for some sort of inputs in an intentional way for a directional social change, maybe also we can call that a positive change, a constructive change. So somehow the existing elders or adults of the society, whatever they have experienced, they learn from their experiences, analyze, screen, reflect, and uh, finally landed to some of the ideas, or some of the ideas which are actually related to their experiences for for the future generation. That is how I just cited three, for example, like Piaget's cognitive growth and development, Kohlberg's moral development, Erickson's psychosocial development, and Sigmund Freud's a psychosexual development, which is also a psychoanalytical development. Whatever those studies are based on the real experience, and the existing elders or the adults try to give some inputs which will be helpful to these childrens. So with these two examples, there are lots of factors which are considered as a principle of curriculum development. All those factors which become principles of developing a curriculum. Now we need to know how to organize that. We need to know how to organize that. Say, for example, in terms of organization, if we take up for, say, for example, pre-primary school, pre-primary school children, what what that will look like for primary school children, for primary school children, or say, for example, for secondary school children. When we say primary, pre-primary, primary, or also known as sometimes elementary together, and secondary, there these classifications are also with respect to the growth and development of the child, growth and development of the child. So somehow already all this formal classification of the schooling process have different levels and classified into like pre-primary, primary, sometimes lower primary, middle primary, upper primary, secondary, and higher secondary. Different at different times, different level of categorizations are there, but all this with respect to the growth and development of the child. So in pre-primary level, what type of you know knowledge through informations which are gathered from the experiences, which are gathered from the experiences, information, then knowledge. Here two things are there: knowledge in the behavioral school of thoughts. Knowledge used to be transacted to the children, and today knowledge are constructed by the children. Only informations are provided with a right kind of environment so that these children can construct their own knowledge. So that's how that particular thought of school has become very popularly known as constructivist approach. So this itself, the classification of the primary school children, pre-primary, primary, secondary, or pre-primary, lower primary, middle primary, upper primary, secondary, higher secondary, or senior secondary, or like elementary, secondary, and senior secondary. These are nothing but the organization. These are nothing but the organization of the expected learning process with special regards to including all the factors during the growth and development of the child, so that they can have a real kind of socialization process, a real kind of a normal growth and development process, so that in future when they become adult, they can become a responsible citizen of the society. So this understanding is actually the basic fundamentals of organization of curriculum. So in the next session, uh, almost every day I will uh, I'm trying to come every day in a small, small session. In the next session, how this particular organization of curriculum for the teacher education, here cited as an example with reference to the school education curriculum in a very fundamental way, not going into the concrete part in a very principal or theoretical way. So in the next session, we will discuss about the curriculum organization of teacher education, because teacher education have a different dimensions to be understood. Basic principles will remain same, but the teacher education have really a different and important aspect to be discussed. Thank you very much for today's session. Thank you.